You're listening to XSGaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander, Skullion, and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of XSGaming Podcast. Good afternoon, good evening, or whichever time you guys are listening to us. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and joined with me is my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. It has been a little while, I believe. August, I think, was the last time we recorded, because there was lots of things going on all over the place, but it is fall now, supposedly, so happy fall. Halloween will be coming up soon, and I just hope it's still not 90 degrees outside when that happens, but who knows. But I hope you all are doing quite well no matter what time or wherever you may be.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's been a very hectic month. Early September, right when we were planning on doing an episode, we got hit with Hurricane Florence. I was stuck in Charlotte for about 2 weeks, and now 2 weeks later, I'm back in town and trying to get everything back in order, and everything's getting back normal again. But it's been crazy. But since we've been gone, there's been so much going on in video game news and stuff like that. I mean, and some of it, it's kind of old. We're not going to really talk too much about it because it's kind of old. But I will ask your opinion, James. What do you think about that PlayStation 1 Classic?
I mean, the idea of it, I like those systems just in general. I mean, we, of course, we're pretty pro pie, especially from the Retro Bro. Great place to go get yourself a pie if you're looking for one. But I still respect the people that just want to get those. I like these systems. They bring old games back to the forefront for, sometimes, your casual person, which is sometimes taken as an insult by some people. It's not really, meant that way, but maybe it's someone who had one a while back and they see it. For me, the problem with the PS Classic is, I don't know, the 20 games and what's it going at, $100? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's going to be around $100.
Yeah, that's a little bit much to me. Though while I still do, I like the idea. I like all the minis. I have all the the Colecos, the Intellivisions. I really like those because I never had those systems. I think they're cool. I like the aspect that maybe now if it was a Saturn Mini, that might be a little bit more. I wouldn't be as maybe critical of the price point just because that's so hard to a lot of people want, and a lot of people have been getting better with the the emulation with it and everything. But I still like the whole idea of the minis and what they do, and that easy access to the everyday person that just might want one. Personally, I will not be getting one myself, but like I said, I like the idea and I like what other things it may bring.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, obviously, there's a market for it, man. It's crazy to think that, PlayStation now is on the bandwagon of the mini console. I mean, we actually had the SNK Classic come out not too long ago. That's the mini Neo Geo, a little arcade that had a couple of Neo Geo games on it. And I've been hearing a lot of not so great things about that one. That one was kind of a letdown, which, may I say, it doesn't really surprise me. Like, I kind of figured that there were going to be some issues with it. Mainly, some of the issues is the joysticks on the pads, like the game pads that you can hook up to it, doesn't have the clicky sound like the Neo Geo Pocket or Neo Geo CD. That's turned a lot of people off because it doesn't have the micro switches. Same thing with the arcade stick as well. And apparently when you hook it up through HDMI, it looks fuzzy. Doesn't look that great.
Yeah, that was one that I really like the novelty idea of it.
Yeah.
Its price range, I'm not sure. I think is that one around like 80.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's not. I don't think it's about $100, but I think it's close to it.
Yeah, I like the novelty. It's something I think would be really hard to play just on its own, but I do like the look of it. It does have the option of hooking up to a TV. But back in the day when Neo Geo was such a like a mythical thing, like that one kid that maybe had one at school. He said he did. You never really know. We had those multi arcade units, and it was something that was so kind of like legendary at the time. But it's gone on. I mean, Neo Geo games have been available on the PlayStation Store, of course, the Switch. We get new ones every week. I've had the games on my Xbox for many years, and while I do love a lot of those games, it's something that's like Neo Geo is just almost kind of like not as special, as it was at one time. And the idea of it was cool. It's so small. It almost, to me, I think would have been a little cooler if it was like an actual, a little bit bigger, like handheld instead of a mini cab, because it just really does not look like very feasible to actually physically play it. Like it would just be a pain in the ass,
Yeah, it's like a 3-inch screen. It's very, very small.
So it's like that. That's just a little bit of issues. Once again, it's something I like the idea. Maybe the total outcome of it. It definitely has a whole lot of fighters on it. I mean, a lot of Neo Geo games are great, but there's so many compilation discs and other methods to play it that one truly kind of hits that novelty aspect of just the whole thing of those.
Yeah, it's one of those things that'd be good to put on like your office table or your desk or something like that, or put it with your other collection. Because I mean, we even have an SNK collection coming out this month, I believe. That's going to be on all platforms, and I've been thinking about getting it for the Switch just because there are some Neo Geo games on the eShop right now. But if I can get it all for one lump sum and just have the whole SNK collection, this 30th anniversary, and play it on the go, that'd be awesome. And you brought up a good point when you said that Neo Geo doesn't feel as special anymore. Now, I understood what you meant by that, in the fact that there was a time that the only SNK games we really had to play were console ports, that we didn't have a Neo Geo, and then they came out with the PS2 collection Volume 1, and they had on the Wii and the PSP, and that was the closest we had at that time to playing as close to arcade perfect in Neo Geo as we could, as having an AES. Like it felt as close as we could with that. But now we have it on so many platforms. If you want Samurai Showdown, boom, you can get it on. You can get it on your phone if you want to.
Yeah, and I am a huge fan. Like I said, if they have another compilation, disc or cart coming out, that's one I would really look into more. Like on the eShop, the $8 price tag to me is just not. I don't know. It's not that cool. I think they should all be about $5.
Yeah.
Not saying that some of these games aren't worth $8, but a lot of them aren't, and to get them all together, that's one, because I still support those. Man, I've loved compilation discs. We've talked about them before.
Oh, yeah.
For many years. They're just a great way. And SNK, like you said, they had a ton. Whether you just want Samurai Showdowns or you just want King of Fighters, of course, Metal Slug. There was lots of options, and of course that one, all-in-one like SNK Anthology that had so many of it. That I still love. Like I bought that on my PSP. It was just really, I really like the portability thing. So if there's a SNK, compilation on the Switch, that's one, because of course you get the combination console and portability. It's just really cool, and I will pretty much always buy compilation discs like that just to support it, because I mean they're just awesome.
No, that's a good segue to talk about another compilation. But before we talk about that, before we leave Neo Geo, I did want to mention, because when we started talking, I felt a little nostalgic of when the Neo Geo X came out. You remember, like that's when we had just started the podcast, and I remember us reporting the story about it. And man, it would have been such a great thing if it actually was good. Oh man!
Because I know that was one you had actually bought. It was one I thought about, and I know you were kind of disappointed with it in the end.
It just wasn't as it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. It was the presentation was cool. It was like the whole handheld, and then you put it in the docking station. It looked like an AES, and you could hook up the Neo Geo arcade stick. I mean, it was really cool, but the emulation was just horrible, and the handheld was just felt really, really cheap. But speaking of compilations, there's a compilation I did want us to talk about briefly a little bit, and that is the new Castlevania Requiem It's coming out on the 20th of October. It's going to be a compilation of Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, and it's going to be on PS4. I thought it was going to be on Xbox One and Switch as well, and I was getting really excited. But then I checked, and it was actually just a PS4 exclusive. But what do you think about this, being a huge Castlevania fan?
That's one I do wish, would be available to, everyone. Symphony of the Night, was always kind of attached more to PS1. Even there was that Saturn port. Of course, they are. This one, I believe, is the PSP version, and Symphony of the Night was actually an unlockable on that. Was kind of hidden in the game. They did do some changes to, of course, some of the classic voiceovers and lines that has been redone. And while I didn't ever really fully delve into the PSP one, from what I've read, it actually, had some changes, in the game to where I think it has some more of the familiars that were not on our version that were Japan exclusive. And it's the one that, Iga was, really seemed more supportive of. Everything I read, he didn't really care for the Saturn port.
It wasn't that good. It had a lot of frame rate issues.
It's like we're lacking those voiceovers, which would have been cool. But I mean, as far as having some extra things, and if it's a version that he supports, hey, we've always got other ways. Of course, the other ones will always live in memes and such, and we can always revisit those classic lines. But still, at the end of it, it's more about that game, and that game is awesome. And, of course, I'm always going to buy it on every platform. And maybe there's still other people that haven't played it. And, of course, you get, Rondo of Blood, which is really, amazing. And in the timeline, it is the prequel to Symphony of the Night. And you have the more classic game style with Rondo, and then it kind of stepped into the next generation with Symphony. So it's one I still always love to see out. I mean, come on, we should really have Symphony of the Night on like every single platform out there available. So hopefully it ends up going to Xbox. And Castlevania is so attached to Nintendo just through history. It's where we all most of us first played it and were introduced to it. So hopefully it'll end up coming to Switch. It's one I don't know if I will get it right away. Just hearing about it does kind of make me want to play Symphony again, and even Rondo. And there was that redo version on the PSP. Kind of wish they had just thrown that on there too.
Yeah. I wish they put it on there just for shits and giggles.
Yeah. It just would have been a good one, because that's one of those ones that's almost seems like it could be kind of like lost in time in a sense, because we have those certain ones that come out on platforms like PSP that just aren't they're not around anymore. And while a lot of us still have them, of course you get your ways of emulators, it still would be just good to have it available. Like, why not do a bigger like I said, like with compilations, why not do a bigger one? Just give us a little more. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're getting two of the very best Castlevania games, so I can't really knock it in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be $20, and I was like, that's fair. And plus, I want to show Konami that I want Castlevania, so I'm going to support anything Castlevania that Konami puts out. Also, I was kind of confused that it wasn't coming out for Switch, and the reason why is because Simon and Richter Belmont are in Smash Brothers, and Alucard's a special character that could help you out during your fights, Alucard and Dracula. So I was kind of confused a little bit. I was just like, who knows? Maybe it'll come out with like some amiibo support, because they are making Smash Brother amiibos of the Belmonts. So
yeah, I haven't bought an amiibo in a while, but I mean, those are some definite must-gets. It's still just cool to see them on there. Like I said, going back to that first introduction of Castlevania, and who knows? I mean, we could be getting some maybe on the with the Wii, the Switch, online, and of course we've been big fans of the ones that were on the Wii, as far as the Castlevania Rebirth, Contra. Those are another ones again, like with the PSP and the Ronda that Lost in Time. These were great games that I think a lot of people missed out on, and a lot of people would love to have again. Whether it's digital, if they put out just some kind of bigger collection, but those are ones that I'd hope for. That Contra and Castlevania were just really fun, really nice, like just redone throwbacks. And I never played. I think was it with Gradius? Might have been the other one they did, which I still wouldn't mind playing. But just to have those again. We see more of these things popping up, and just we need these games out there more available to everyone, just so people has a chance to play them and they don't get lost.
Exactly. Because I mean, Castlevania Rebirth, it only came out on the WiiWare, and the Wii shop, I believe the Wii shop's not even open anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I think they might have closed it. So yeah. I mean. That'd be really nice. I'd love to. I'd rebuy it. I mean, I already have it, but I'd rebuy it on the Switch in a heartbeat.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot missed out on it, and I'm kind of with you. I will get the Castlevania collection just because we do need to. People have been real critical of Konami. We see Capcom doing lots of really good things that people love, and I want to see Konami do the same thing too. So sometimes, even if it's something as small as just buying this game, like I said, which is great and a great deal, and maybe that can just show them there is still love for these games in the long run, that can just give us more. Every system just have all these games still come out and be available and just playable. That's the whole point of these games. You just want to play them, so put the damn things out there so we can get them.
Speaking of Konami, have you gotten the Capcom Fighter Pack? Did you get that with Final Fight and I think like Knights of the Round, a couple other games?
Yeah, that's one I had not picked up yet. It's kind of debating on. Once again, it's a compilation, so I do want to get it. Wasn't sure if I wanted to go Switch or PS4. I've heard some of and of course you can play online with friends with these, which is another really great thing to see with these games. You're not just stuck with couch co-op, but I've heard the online could be a little bit, lacking on the Switch. And of course, I'm kind of at that limit with my memory at the moment, and I'm kind of dealing with that.
Oh.
So,
I hate to cut you off, but have you taken advantage of the online on the Switch?
Okay, I've been real curious about that actually, because I'm wondering with the online, which I do have. I went ahead and got the year subscription. I know it has the cloud save. See, and that's one thing I was wondering, like, could that help me? Could I transfer my saves to the cloud? Because I have a bigger memory card at the moment. My friend EJ gave me because he got a really big one and gave me his last one. And I just know if I put it in, I'm going to lose my saves, and I don't really have a computer at the moment to do the Switch on. So I was wondering, if that cloud capability could kind of help me out in this situation.
Yeah, definitely could. And, speaking of that, that was something that was under some turmoil and some pretty negative flash debates and everything on the internet when they talked about the online. Was the cloud apparently like the cloud itself. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked a little bit, but the cloud, like they were saying that it takes about 6 months and it will delete your service, like your saves. Like they were talking about that, and at first people thought that once your membership was over, then your cloud would be completely gone. Like they wouldn't give you any sort of like leeway or anything like that. Like what'd you think about that with the whole cloud? Is that something that, because it's $20 a year, Yeah,
I think is a very good price, and some people have, like you said, been critical, and they're like, well, there's a low price, justify this. I mean, if they give you, extra time if your stuff lapses, I mean, you still got time to maybe, get it back or transfer it to something else. I mean, that's a pretty good, amount of leeway to it. For me, the online service is something I would just, I would still keep. I mean, I understand that maybe everybody can't do that. I think they do have a good price. And, I'm sure they're going to work out some more things with it. I'm still not quite sure about that, check-in every week thing.
Yeah.
I haven't really, delved into that or experienced that, too much myself. Usually I end up turning on my, Switch is going to be turned on at least, once a week. I don't know if it's like, do you have to go into each game for your data not to be lost, or is it just turning on the Switch?
I think it's just turning on the Switch. As long as you turn it on with Wi-Fi, you're good, which, I mean, I play my Switch at least once a week anyway. So
yeah, we're going to have some kinks like that, and I think things, so many people are quick just to jump right away and crucify companies, for this and that. When in reality, they just need a little bit of time to get things worked out. And usually, the problems end up not being as bad as initially, we think. I've been guilty of that too. I hear something and it's like, what? That's stupid. And then you really look into it and it's usually, not quite as bad. It's just it's still a new thing on the Switch. We probably thought we would have had it earlier, but, so far just having those games, I mean, to me, having pro wrestling on there, which I didn't know, because pro wrestling has not been available on Virtual Console, was never made on, those classic GBA carts.
Oh,
it was
really?
Just kind of,
wow.
Yeah, it was just kind of gone because it wasn't actually a Nintendo game. It was done by Human, who it really ended up being the guys who did Fire Pro. So pro wrestling is really in the family line of that. But when, I heard about that, and I was like, of course, it was the first game, I played. I think pro wrestling is just one of those classic ones that is still it's tough, man. But it was, of course, better than, any of the WWF games on the Nintendo.
Oh, God,
just to be able to have the online, capability and jump on. I mean, I got my ass beat. I was like, man, I am terrible at this game. Like, what happened? But just to be able to have that again, it was a real good lineup. I thought of games, some are ones I probably wouldn't play, but still having that online capability with friends for these games is really, a giant step. It's a lot of things a lot of people wanted, and each month they're throwing out, I think it's like one Nintendo title and, 2 other ones. Seems they're doing a lot of work with Tecmo. So I'm really hoping Tecmo Wrestling will come out, because that was a lot like pro wrestling, but just way better. And, we always wondered in the past, like, these games, like when you get new ones, it's like, do you lose them? Do these games trade off? But from what I'm thinking, you got that original library and they're just adding stuff, so you're just going to have this, big library of old games. It just comes, with the Switch Online, and like we said, that capability to play with friends. Just really cool to see what games will come out, what companies will participate, where some of these rights kind of lie to in the long run. And I'm sure some more obscure games we may not see. And you wonder with like Capcom, like, will Mega Man show up on there because they have their collections? Castlevania, will that show up on there? A lot of it's just kind of like wait and see. But I'm digging what they're doing, with it in general, and just once again, it's that availability, these games, and people to get them and check them out.
Yeah, and of course they came out with their own like little NES controllers that are like the Joy-Cons. They came out
catching
with those.
A lot of flack too. Yeah,
oh man, here's the thing. Okay, like you don't need them to play the NES classics on the Switch. So now, if Nintendo would have made this and they're like, hey, you can't play these NES games unless you buy these NES Joy-Cons, then I would be right up there with everyone else and yelling. The price, of course, is the same price as Joy-Cons, so they're kind of expensive. But it's like, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, I was playing Super Mario Brothers 3 on the Switch with my Pro Controller, and yeah, it was a little weird using the B and A. I wish you could actually just remap the buttons. That would be really cool, because I don't know about you, but when I play a game that's like 2-button, and I'm playing on like a modern consoles, I like to use the Y and B buttons for my B and A. I don't like to use the actual B and A. I think it's just because it feels more like Super Mario World, like in my head, with the 2 buttons.
Yeah, button mapping, I think, is always, something that should be an option.
Yeah, I mean, it is in the arcade archives. You can do it on that. I mean, why can't you do it on here? It's really weird.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe they'll add it. But the biggest thing with those, I saw was the people that were so mad that these, Joy-Cons don't work with any other games.
Yeah.
When I was kind of thinking, I was like, well, there's a lot of 2-button games, on the eShop and such, but most of them aren't. Most of them use other buttons. So these were put out just pretty much strictly for the NES ones, and I was thinking, we're probably going to see, alternate versions, knock off some other company is going to make something that looks like that. I think that has more of the capability. But people just did seem really angry about those, and it's more like a justifying the price, and it's like, well, I can only use it for these, but what else really could you use those for?
Exactly.
Most games have more buttons, so I mean, it's just something. There'll be alternatives, so no need to get so angry about it.
Yeah, I mean, even some of these retro indie games, I mean, they look old, but they play like modern gaming with the control schemes. I mean, they at least to like more modern as like a Super Nintendo game or something. I mean, not many indie games rely on just 2 buttons. You think a Shovel Knight has more to do than that, but
yeah, sometimes even that other button, would be a menu option, or something like that. It's just there's not, they really don't have much other use than for the original Nintendo games. So it's really kind of a novelty item, and it's something that you don't have to buy. And like I said, I'm pretty sure there will be other options that look like that. I'm always curious to see things with the Joy-Cons. Like I'm kind of looking at that Hori one myself, the Zelda one with the D-pad.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks about those is like I don't know how much it is. But
$25.
Okay, that's actually not too bad. It's not bad at all, actually, because these third-party Joy-Cons, they don't have the characteristics of a Joy-Con. Like, you don't have the HD rumble. I don't think it has the gyro in it.
No, and I think you have to use it on handheld mode too. I don't think you can put them on the little
the Joy-Con grip.
Yeah, I don't think you can use them on that. Like, you pretty much have to use it on the system. It's pretty much just pretty basic. Like you said, none of the other features. But it's just that thing. If you really want a D-pad, I mean, I always like, Hori. Been a big fan of that little mini pad. I got for the PS4. I've really loved using that for Fire Pro. It's been my go-to controller, and that one was only $30. I mean, Hori's just been a good company, and I think we'll still keep seeing more options. Now, I know there is a way. I've seen RGT85 did a video on a little add-on set, and through looking through the comments, I did see there's actually some other little sets you can buy, and you kind of have to do it yourself. So they said there's a lot of Etsy stores where people will do it, where you can pretty much end up with a D-pad with all the functions on your Joy-Con. You just kind of either have to do the work or look yourself, but it's available.
I watched the video, and it was fucking hilarious. Okay, it was a good concept, and you could tell like Sean was very optimistic. He was like, "Hey, this might be kind of cool. It's kind of like a thing, an adhesive thing that you would stick on your Joy-Con, so it'd have all the characteristics of a Joy-Con because it is." But now it's got a D-pad, and I laughed so hard because he was playing Street Fighter with it, and he's playing it, he's talking about it, he's like, it's a little loose, but it's okay, I think this is alright. And after the fucking round, the thing disintegrates, the thing just breaks apart, and Sean's like, well, this is nice, this is really nice.
Yeah, you kind of look at the price, and I wonder too if there's some more things like he could have done to maybe installed it on there a little better. But there are options out there. I think we'll see better ones. That one still doesn't really seem like the best way. But the one where the people actually have the its original Joy-Con, you got to kind of switch out the guts. That looks like a really good method. It's not something I personally would try to do.
I'm too scared to do.
Oh yeah, well, people say it's very, something with like a ribbon, and it took them a couple tries because sometimes a button, wouldn't work. It's not something I would do, but there are a lot of people that do, put these together, and they are available. So it's like, people want a D-pad. We're still in the early stages of these options, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo came out with one on their own. I mean, maybe they won't. If it's something people want,
man.
you would think they would, but
I was about to say, James, you were like the king of segues today, because I was actually about to mention the rumors of the new Switch model for 2019.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear it? Did you hear about that? I know it's been all over the YouTubes.
I've heard a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like one of those rumors where it might happen. It's going to eventually happen. I mean, come on, it's Nintendo. Nintendo makes revisions of consoles.
Every company does it.
Yeah. I mean, it's inevitable that it's going to come out. Now, I don't know if it's going to have more horsepower, because that is something that we've kind of had to think about, with the fact that we have the PlayStation 5 and new Xbox right around the corner. And when those come out, those are going to be a lot more powerful. And how is third party going to kind of compete, making multi-ports on PS5 and Xbox Next, whatever it is, and the Switch? Like, how are they going to make third-party capable with all that? They'd have to make a dumbed-down port on the Switch, which could be really, really bad. So maybe a new Switch may have a little bit more horsepower. I personally hope that at least it has a better battery life on handheld, because it only lasts like 2.5 hours in handheld mode, and come out with the Joy-Cons with the freaking D-pad. Boom, there you go. Maybe a revisioned handheld, like make it a little thinner,
Yeah, I'm sure something will be like a little lighter. You could end up, we've seen cases before where sometimes, original model might have a better screen. Like the Vita, the first version is very heralded, and the second one, while being lighter, it didn't quite have that crisp, beautiful screen. Some things with games running, though, I kind of wonder, a lot of people thought with the Pro, it's like, well, I mean, like, can I not play this game if I don't have a Pro? I don't really want to see a case, which I don't think they would do, like the 3DS, where you had that newer version and it had a couple of games that could only be played on that one. So I could kind of see him still sticking to the standard, kind of horsepower, like you said. But it's something to be expected. Like I said, every company does it. They're going to have revisions, and it's one of those things you're going to have to look at and be like, is this worth it to me getting another one, or am I good with what I have? And we'll just have to kind of see what they end up doing. By the end, we could have maybe 3 versions of the Switch. Yeah. A lot of people have wanted just could I get just the handheld version so I could play these games? Like, I don't need to play it on the TV. Could just be a lot of options coming up.
And for God's sakes, let's have a new dock. I really don't like the dock. Let's make a revision of that.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I know I haven't had any issues myself, but I know other people have.
Yeah.
I know there's other, like, replacement ones, different ones you can get. And of course, you hear a lot of bad things about some of these third-party things involving the Switch, to where they just, I've heard of people, systems getting bricked and things like that. So you got to be really careful. So it'd be good for Nintendo themselves, to step up and put out some of these products people want. So, it is, playable, and it's not like a detriment to your system, because that just kind of sucks when that happens.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, before we get into games we've been playing recently, what have you been up to, James? Is there something you'd like to add? I mean, because it's been a while since we've been on the show.
It's been a bit. It's just kind of been hanging around. Of course, we had the hurricane come through. And of course, as you said, you had to, relocate, as you guys in Wilmington got hit a lot worse. Had a lot of things going on with work, in preparation, for the storm. Because when we had Matthew a while back, we were kind of just, sent out onto our routes when it was very horrible outside. And I'm not lazy. I believe in, doing my job when I can, but I've been, delivering mail for almost 20 damn years. And I know when something's a bad idea. And Matthew was like, this is a bad idea. And some people could barely get home. I barely made it home. It was just, it was a big mess, big debacle. So this time, a little bit extra, preparedness, because I'd already heard even Amazon stuff didn't come in. They'd cut off to Wilmington, I think like the Wednesday, the day before, and just in preparation. And they cut off to here because, Fayetteville and Wilmington were two of the ones that were supposed to be, getting hit around like in our areas the most. So, we got pulled off the street at like 11:30 on Thursday. We were closed Friday, Saturday. I went back in Monday and finished up, and just not a lot of mail was coming in. There wasn't really, anything there. Of course, you got a lot of people are like, why? I had coworkers that had people ask them why we didn't have boats. And you never really know if someone's being serious or, I get the rain, sleet, snow, like I know, but that's some old 1901 motto that sometimes just doesn't work as well today. And, we just didn't have a lot of stuff coming in. And the next couple days, I actually, bridges got closed. Monday, we got pulled off the street at about 2 just so people could get home because they were closing all the bridges in Fayetteville at 3 o'clock because of the rising water. So while I kept power the whole time through the storm, we had a little bit more, after effects of just like, I didn't even really know how to get to work. So I called in, and the next day I was trying to get there, and I texted my boss. I said, I'm coming in. It's going to be like 2 hours. And she was like, damn. And then a little bit later, I said, you know what? I turned around because the traffic was so bad, and I'd been having some overheating issues in my vehicle, and I thought it best just to turn around. So I finally went back the next Thursday, but there was a lot of time off, not much damage. Though, of course, now I will be looking for a new vehicle this weekend, as we did find out my overheating issue was due to some kind of actual leak in my engine. And they recommended a new engine, but my truck's paid off. It's got 108,000 miles, and I was like, you know what? I guess it's just time for a new one. So I think tomorrow I will be going and getting a new vehicle. But so there was some bad things. Most of the crap I caught actually was not storm related. I guess life punished me, in other ways. So, well, you made it through the storm, and the AC in the house was having some issues. Because, like I said earlier, it's still 90-something degrees in October, but that was pretty minor. And I just did a lot of hanging around and just doing nothing. At the end, I was just lucky because I felt bad. People lost, houses and lives. So I was just one of the lucky ones, man. You never know when stuff like that's gonna hit. But I think overall, there was just more preparedness for this, and that's one good thing just to always see in the future is this planning ahead. Like, even if you're a little bit extra safe, that's better than not being safe and just being, completely screwed.
Indeed. And like hopefully we don't get any more hurricanes. We got this month left because hurricane season's over in November. So,
yeah, Matthew actually hit. I can remember because it's Columbus Day weekend, and Matthew actually hit at this time when that one came, which I think was I believe that was 2 years ago. Yeah, and that one came right around then. You don't really think of October. You think of hurricanes, tropical storms, and warm weather, but usually they end up hitting a little bit, more the end. And with everything still staying so hot, you got to keep an eye out because there were about, I think, 3 other storms behind Florence. there was even rumors of Florence is coming back, and it's like, what? Which was all a lot of, you see a lot of kind of over-exaggerated news stories and such. But everything, as like you said, it seems clear, and hopefully it stays that way, and we can get some actual damn fall weather and get ready for hoodies and Halloween and all that good fun stuff, and in this damn summer, because this is like just going on forever.
It's ridiculous.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Sweating my balls off.
Well, let's get into what have you been playing recently?
Well, as much as I was inside, you think I would have played a bunch. Like I was prepared. I was ready to lose power. Like I felt bad that I didn't. I had the 3DS charged, so you can play some Switch. I charged up my SP, guys, ready to go. And I mean, I just didn't really play anything. Like my wife was home a lot too, so we just kind of, I usually try to play the games when she's at work, and so we just kind of, hung out, watched TV and movies. I did pick up a couple games. I had picked up the Spider-Man game, which I actually played long enough just to do like the web swinging tutorial, and then I got busy doing something else. Haven't touched it since, but I did get the new Tomb Raider, which I have been a huge fan of this series. I've always hated it in the past. I know a lot of people loved it. I never got into it, but I mean, these last games have just been incredible. I mean, really, it's probably one of my favorite series as of now. It's like what Tomb Raider was always supposed to be. I think they took a little bit from Uncharted, but really kept a lot more of that exploring the tombs, as in like Rise. And with Shadow, I've played it for maybe about an hour before the show, and just been having a blast. It really feels, it gets very tense. You're like jumping, trying to hang on stuff, and I died a whole lot, but they seem to keep getting better and better, and it's still one of those series. Like I said, I haven't beat any of them, but I mean the last one, Rise, the first day I got it, I played that game for like 12 hours. Like that's a pretty long time for me to sit and play a game. Just really, really been loving that, and I will always recommend that one to anybody if you've never played it. Any of them are great to get. They're available on, even the PS3s and of course all the PS4s and Xbox Ones now. And but I think the last other one, I don't think I'd mentioned it on the show though, was the because I don't think it'd come out then, was the Messenger on Switch.
Yeah.
I'd heard a lot about that. It's one I still haven't played a whole lot. I hear it's one of those ones that once you kind of beat it, it's when it really opens up. Like it's kind of like your standard kind of old school game, but then it turns into more of a Metroidvania. It's almost kind of like a double game. And the bit I played of that was really good, and it's one I keep meaning to go back to. I still end up with so many games. I see games out now. I'm sure you're going to be talking about one of them that I was really curious wanting to get, and I'm sure I will, but it's like, man, I've had this Tomb Raider just sitting here like forever. It's like I really need to just step back for a minute. And of course, having to get a new car too, I'm going to be watching the funds a little bit more and try to play more of what I got. But damn, Fist of the North Star does look pretty good.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and talk about that. I will be reviewing it, so I'm not going to talk about it too much on the show. I will say this though. I know you were asking earlier if it had about the gore. It's got a lot of gore in it. It's the gore kind of makes you think of like Shinobi on PS2. Like how it's just crazy amounts of blood. Like it's a lot like that. It's a lot like Fist North Star, the anime, which is weird because the Japanese version didn't have as much gore on it. Like it was kind of more of an American thing, which I thought was really weird. But the game itself. It plays like a Yakuza game. It's pretty much Yakuza. I hate saying it, but a lot of it's kind of makes me think of like a Yakuza mod of Fist of the North Star, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And like I'm not going to get too much into it. All I will say is if you're a big Yakuza fan, like you, James, and like myself, this is definitely a game to check out.
Now I've heard you could even switch like Kenshiro's skin.
Yeah. The first 2 weeks that the game's out, they have a free DLC that you can actually switch your quote unquote costume when you get your hideout, which doesn't happen until like chapter 5. But you can switch your costume and you'll be Kiryu because it's the same voice actor.
Yeah, that's just hearing that team was doing the game, I had high hopes. The last Fist of North Star games, I dug them. They seemed, were done by the, Koei. They did a lot of the Dynasty Warriors, and they got a bit monotonous. Whereas I could see, it being more in like the Yakuza world, like, it could maybe be broken up. Like I saw that one little mini game, man, where like you were hitting motorcycles with like big log. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's like instead of like normal baseball, because I mean you have a hub world that you're in. You're in Eden, which is, kind of like Fist North Star's version of Kamurocho. You're in Eden, you're doing side quests, there's main stuff that you have to do. Also, you get a car and you can drive around the wasteland, and that's how I started playing baseball, because I started driving around the wasteland and I end up in the baseball field, and bandits start coming after you and take a big steel beam and you start hitting them like a baseball bat. So like they took the mechanics of Yakuza's baseball, but they made it Fist in the North Star like. Yeah,
it just really seems like because Fist and North Star is one of those series. We've seen a lot of games. Sometimes we didn't know they were. I think like Last Battle was a Fist and North Star game. Even Black Belt.
Yeah, I was gonna say Black Belt. Yeah,
the Master System, which I love. That was a Fist and North Star. We had one on Game Boy and NES, and I liked the Game Boy one, and it kind of just faded to obscurity. At least here in the U.S. until the 360 and PS3 versions, which, like I said, fun for a bit, but a little bit monotonous. Where it seems like maybe this seems like the ultimate Fist of the North Star game. I'm not a huge follower of the series, so I'm sure maybe some of them people might be a little bit more critical of it, but it seems overall like this could be that Fist of the North Star game we always really wanted and finally got. And it's like it's being done by a good team. Like you said, me being a Yakuza fan, like I gotta support them. I mean, they did another game too on the PS3 that is oh man, it's slipping my mind, but the title, but I bought it. You're fighting lots of like Terminator.
You talking about Binary Domain?
Yes, that's
it. What's funny is when you're in the car in I was gonna say Yakuza, when you're in the car in Fist in the North Star, you have a radio station that you have like, it's only got 3 songs. It's got like the Fist and North Star song, like original song they made for the game, the Monkey Ball theme, and Binary Domain theme.
Oh wow!
Which all have to do with the Yakuza team. So.
Yeah, Binary Domain was it's a one I didn't play a whole lot, but I really like the ideas in it. Where you could, if somebody was standing in water, you could like shoot the water, you could like electrocute somebody standing in it. Had a lot of good ideas, had some team mechanics, which I never really liked a lot of the team games, but I thought they did it quite well. And like I said, they're a team I'm gonna support, and if I hear a game they made, like I'm gonna buy it. So Fist of North Star is definitely on my my get list. Like I do really want it, but it's just that like I don't know if I can dedicate the time to it. So it's like maybe I should wait just a little bit. I'll see how long I can hold out though.
Oh yeah, I still gotta beat Kiwami too. I'm like on chapter 8 on Kiwami too, and I put it down because I got so caught up in some of the games that I was reviewing, and then the hurricane hit, so I had to leave town and get back in town. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to Yakuza Kiwami 2, and then I'm like, well shit, Fist and North Star's out, and I wouldn't have bought Fist and North Star if it wasn't for the game that I'm about to mention that I've been playing as well, and that is Mega Man 11. I will say I really did enjoy Mega Man 11. It was so much fun, but I beat the game the same day I bought it, which I barely ever do, man. I could not believe. But I played the game for like 5.5 hours. Like I bought it and got it home, and I had such a journey to get Mega Man 11. Like this is something I meant to mention earlier in the show. Was okay. So I had the Mega Man 11 collector's edition with the amiibo. I had that pre-ordered, and what happened was the hurricane hit, so I'm like, you know what, I need to make sure I have finances. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this pre-order, so I canceled it. So then I was like, all right, well, I'll just buy it when it comes out. It was like it's a $30 game, and so I had a couple of things I traded in. I ended up getting it for like $15. I'm like, awesome. So I do like I always do when a new game comes out and I'm going to GameStop to pick it up. I get up in the morning, get a good breakfast, I go to GameStop. Went there and the lady was like, we don't have it. I'm like, oh no. She's like, yeah, it's still in transit. Now, some of you guys are listening to this be like, oh man, freaking GameStop. But you got to take in consideration, and James can attest to this, deliveries have just been out the wazoo. Even though it's been a couple of weeks after hurricane, it's been really, really hard for things to get to Wilmington right now.
Yeah, roads are still really, messed up. Some are still underwater. It's really been a, a big trial and tribulation for everything. Just to, even though we're quite a little bit past it, things are still just kind of getting back to somewhat normal. And a lot, especially yours, that got hit worse, is just kind of getting back to normal now.
Yeah. I mean, like my guitarist in my band, he works for FedEx, and he worked. Today was his first day off in like 15 days since the hurricane hit. He worked 15 days straight with FedEx. So I completely understood when they were like, oh, it's still in transit. I wasn't going to get in front of the camera and be like, oh, fuck GameStop, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. So I went back home. I'm like, you know what? I'm off the next day. So I'm just going to go back to GameStop and see if they have it. Because I'm getting the game for $15 anyway. So I decided to call them instead of walking to the mall like I did before. So I called them. They said it still hadn't came in, but they should be getting it delivered today. And I'm like, okay, cool. Could you give me a call when it comes in? They said, absolutely. I'm like, awesome, thank you. Hold a copy of the Switch for me. They're like, okay, cool. So I decided instead of walking, I didn't want to get an Uber. I decided, hey, I'll take the bus. I haven't rode the bus in a very long time, like the public bus. So I decided to take that. And there's a bus stop right by my house. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get on it. And, this bus that I rode years ago, and I used to live at this apartment complex, rode right by the mall. I noticed the bus was going in the direct opposite direction. I'm in, like, downtown Wilmington, which is, like, about 15 minutes away driving from the mall. And I'm just like, asked the bus driver, I'm like, hey, does this bus go to the mall? He's like, nah, man, you should have got on the 106. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I had to like get a transfer, and then finally went to the mall and bought Mega Man 11. I was just like, oh my god, this was a journey just to get this game. And then I beat it in a day. And I was like, shit, man. So with that being said, I had a little bit of extra money, and I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and get Fist of North Star. So that's pretty much all I've been playing, though. It's Fist of North Star now.
Yeah, I've been curious about the Mega Man 11. I might snag that one myself. I heard a lot of good things. But when you think about it, a lot of these games, that seem to take us forever when we were younger, like, Mega Mans and Contras and everything, that now it's like we can just kind of, granted, Mega Man is still pretty damn hard, but it's like you can beat it in a day. So it's like, I could kind of see, if you sit there and play even like Mega Man 11, like it's still Mega Man, it's not going to take you like a week to do. But at the end, sometimes, if you had a blast, it still is really good. Sometimes the, price is not too bad. It seems like they've, carried on with the Mega Man legacy, quite well. We still get a lot of re-releases of the old ones, of course, and the fact that they're still making, new ones. Maybe we'll get some more X's. I was a big fan of the ones on DS, I don't know, XYZ, XZX. I don't know what they're called.
ZX, yeah.
Yeah, dude, those were really good. I wouldn't mind seeing another one kind of, more in that vein. That's, got a little bit more going on. But 11 is still one I do want to check out. I'm glad that really ended up being a great game because people seem to really be loving it. Capcom is, giving us that beat 'em up collection. They're really just throwing a lot of like really cool things out there to the fans. So I hope they keep it up, and hope Konami jumps on the train with them too.
Indeed. But I think this is going to wrap up another episode of XS Gaming. I do want to thank everyone for being patient for this episode, because it's just taken us a long time because we've just had so much going on. And I had a couple of people on Twitter, because I was like, I made a post about I was uploading a new video, and they're like, when's another podcast? I'm like, well, it's soon. It's coming out very, very soon. So thank you guys for all the support. And also, I just opened up a Facebook page. This is Xander Skullion 308 on Facebook, and I'm going to be uploading the podcast on there as well. But, it's pretty much the same kind of content as my YouTube channel, youtube.com/XanderSkullion. It's going to have the podcast, it's going to have reviews, discussions. I might do a couple of live hangouts on the Facebook page. So if you guys want to join on that, be sure, because I'll be doing that this Friday around like 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be doing a hangout, just kind of talking about what games I've been playing, what I'm working on, maybe get some viewer feedback on the videos and podcasts and stuff like that. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening, and as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone.